Up for debate. Some hot takes. Where's my pants? Gotta find my mouth. Let me start by saying a lot of people are going to disagree with this. Hopefully not as many as agree with it. However, this is a bit of a spicy take and what could probably seem like blasphemy to the industry as a whole. Tape versus digital. What's the differences? Which is better? Why? I think the whole argument is stupid. I think everything that we build each one of these things up to be is just a fallacy in and of itself. So I mix a lot of music. I mix projects that are recorded in a whole lot of different ways. I've mixed stuff that was done completely in the box in somebody's house. I've mixed stuff that was done digitally in a really, really cool studio. I've done stuff that was on tape. What do I notice between those differences? You would think I might notice the saturation or the harmonic content or the really, really crazy differences in dynamics and everything that we build up tape versus digital and those differences that you can hear, right? When I'm mixing, what I notice is a performance. What I notice is when I can hear the artist just bleeding from their soul, trying to tell me what they're trying to tell me. The last thing that goes through my mind is whether that was recorded on tape or digital. If you want to stop here, by all means. But let's go on. I notice performance. All in all, if you're a confident musician and a confident songwriter, you have prepared for this moment. It doesn't matter if you're using a computer or a Studer. It's going to be a good song. And conversely, if you haven't, it's going to suck. You put a really bad song and record it with tape, it doesn't make it any better, I promise you. I'd be curious to know your thoughts, but there is no song, I think, that has ever benefited from just being on tape for tape itself. No, I think there's a process to tape, and that is the benefit. But the process and how you approach recording to tape can be applied to anything, not just tape. There's nothing inherently special about the recording process of tape that you cannot do elsewhere. There are a lot of options that we have recording digitally. There's a lot of things we can do, and does that kind of work to the detriment of the industry? I think sometimes, yeah, it can. That's where we come up with a lot of the cliches of overproduction, of just beating something until there's no soul left in it. Where tape, you have these really, really organic moments, and I don't think that comes from the tape itself. It comes from the performance. Those musicians were prepared. They knew their songs, they knew their arrangements, and they reacted to each other in the moment. There's a scarcity that comes with tape that can just breed these tense moments that then breed hits. Tape is a resource. You only have so much of it, and you only have so much time, and every edit you have to make takes a whole lot of time. So if time is money, tape is expensive. Digitally, really, we all have the ability to record anywhere for an infinite amount of time, given you have a large hard drive, and hard drive space is darn cheap compared to tape. So because of that limitation, there's an immediacy. There's a knowledge that this precious commodity, the tape you're recording on, will run out. And so in that event, you better know your song, and not just know it in and out, so that you can respond from an emotional level to convey what you're trying to convey with your song. That's the thing I've noticed with stuff recorded on tape, the good ones. Now, flipping that, never really noticed any song that's benefited or not benefited from being recorded digitally. A good song recorded digitally is still a good song. But what I have noticed recording digitally is sometimes I'll get something and I'll send it back. Like, we need to redo this. There's just no feeling there. Sometimes what I tell my clients when they go into the booth or they come into the studio, a microphone hears emotion, it hears passion, it hears a performance. And those are things that I can't fix. I can fix pitch, I can fix timing. Ideally, I don't want to have to do that. However, the thing an artist can control more than anything is their emotion and what they allow us to hear through that microphone. And I think that's something that can get lost in the digital realm, knowing that whatever happens, we can fix it later. We kind of have this lackadaisical approach to recording, that if you have some money and you have a day, you can record as many songs as you want because the engineer can fix it. And I hate that. I hate it. I can't tell you how many times somebody's come in with an instrument that's in disrepair, or singing something wrong, or the strings on this bass are super old and don't worry, he can EQ that later. Like, no, there's something missing when you do that. When you lean on that process, you're sucking the soul out of it. Not just in the post-production process, but in your mind as it's happening. You're spoiling this moment of creation and reaction in real time. The bane of digital is we've become lax with our practicing, lax with our preciousness of conveying an emotion, with instrument maintenance, and any number of other things, because we can just fix it. And sometimes fixing it is fine. Sometimes that's exactly what digital is good for, because on somebody else's dime, if something just needs to be quickly fixed, and you can do that, you should do that. If that's the make or break between a budget, hey, that's one of the benefits of digital. But if you take that to its logical extreme and fix everything, you end up with a sterile, clinical version of music that doesn't allow anyone to feel anything, because there is no feeling. It's more ones and zeros than it is the inspiration that began the whole thing to start with. Now, to that point, I would argue that if tape were more affordable, more readily available, you could edit on it faster, and basically it was in line with the speed of doing things digitally, we would have the exact same problems with tape. We would be overproducing, over-editing, overdoing everything on tape. So I don't think it's the mediums. It's not tape and digital. It's the mindset that comes along with that. And sometimes the boundary to entry there is the budget. Do you have the time to put in? That's the thing that's hard for artists to get over. Sometimes I'll get calls to book people and they want to record a record, but they know when they play live, they can do 10 songs in 45 minutes. So really, they only need to book an hour of studio time to record a record, right? It's crazy. Ultimately, any musician who doesn't know the songs, who doesn't perform the crap out of it, who doesn't pour out their soul to make you understand what they're trying to say in a song, doesn't matter if they recorded it on tape or not. It's gonna suck. On the flip side, if the greatest records that you've ever heard were recorded with that same mindset, and you took splits from the tape machine to Pro Tools, had it existed in the time, they would still be great records. It's not the magnetic tape. It's not the hard drive. So what is it? It's us. What makes music good? It's humans. It's how we approach the process when we're in the process. It doesn't matter what your project is. If you get rid of passion and intention in your project, you can record on whatever you want. It's gonna sound the same. A really, really great record uses its tools, and I'm not gonna say that tape and computer sound the same. You can use those tools. Sometimes you want to build in limitations for creativity. That said, you can build in limitations for recording digitally. A lot of times this is budgetary. This is time constraints. This is recallability. This is file management. There's so many other factors here that worrying about making your stuff sound like it's on tape is kind of a silly argument. It has so much more to do with the performance. Because you know you can throw 1,000 plugins at something, maybe you're not going to take the time and make sure that you've mic'd it correctly. Or because you know you can throw a sample on a snare, I'm looking over at my kit here like you can see it. Because you know you can throw a sample on it or add a reverb to it, and you're never going to run out of empty tracks, you're not going to take the time to tune it or to make sure it's set in the right spot in the room itself. If we flip that, if we spend more time preparing, more time listening, and making sure we have everything exactly the way we want it to before we hit record, Pro Tools, Logic, Reaper, Bitwig, all these things may as well be a tape machine. It doesn't matter. And I will argue that point. Because if you want to start talking about if distortion sounds the same in tape and computer, no it doesn't. But I doubt that's what makes your record great or terrible, is how that distortion sounds. It's a silly argument. So really, all this arguing and all these comments are down to what's your mindset when you're recording. And I think we can all agree we could always spend more time preparing. We could always spend more time learning our songs, because if we have those things down, all we then have to do is communicate and be an artist. All you then have to do is make your audience believe you. He says like it's some easy thing. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Let me know in the comments below. Like if you like it. Subscribe if you want more like this. I'll see you in the next one.